Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me. Just wanted to see if anyone could maybe try and raise their hand. I'm testing out Teams. This is my first time doing a webinar using Teams. Thanks, John. Thanks, guys. All right. So I just wanted to say hello and welcome. This is the 2025 Urbana Arts Grants Overview webinar. My name is Vivian Krishnan, and I'm the program specialist for the City of Urbana's Arts and Culture program. I want to just say thank you for being able to make it tonight after it was rescheduled from last Wednesday. Unfortunately, my voice is still a little bit rough from being sick last week, so I'm very sorry about that, but we're going to keep going ahead. And this will be recorded and made available once this webinar is over. It will go on the City of Urbana's website. So just so you know that. Um, and I also just wanted to say that questions and comments can be added to the chat. And if you want to give it a try, you can say hey, say hi to folks on the chat. But I will be giving the presentation, and then afterwards I'll try to answer as much as I can in terms of questions. And I believe I can also take off the mute for people, but for the sake of getting this presentation kind of going, I wanted to just kind of have it all turned off. Right. The Urbana Arts Grants Program is funded by the City of Urbana with partial funding from the Illinois Arts Council Agency. The program supports opportunities for all residents to engage with the arts in its many forms. This program fosters an environment for established and emerging artists to thrive in Urbana, promotes lifelong participation and learning in the arts. So I just wanted to start off by saying that the applications for the Urbana Arts Grants will be open from March 1st to 31st. Applicants will be required to apply using the Neighborly portal. If you haven't been on Neighborly before, you will need to create an account and get that set up. No applications will be accepted after Monday, March 31st, after midnight. So also no applications will be accepted outside of using the Neighborly portal. If you run into any issues or have questions, please contact me no later than 5 p.m. that day. Moving along. The Urbana Arts Grants are split up into two different categories, and the program will be funding up to $90,000 in grants over these two categories. Tier 1 is now starting at $2,000 and will go up to $3,499. This category is intended for individual artists and initiatives, as well as the Arts in the Schools program. It's recommended for first-time applicants or just smaller projects. Additionally, up to $3,000 is typically prioritized for the Arts in Schools proposals. Some examples of Tier 1 projects include Girls Rock Fest and Showcase, which was an all-day event concluding a week-long summer camp with a DJ, an all-femme identifying art vendors, creators, and the 2024 Camp Showcase featuring performances to celebrate Girls Rock. Another example is Big Hug Urbana, which was a community mural project for all ages that took place on a Saturday morning during the farmers market. And the finished mural is now on display at Lincoln Square Mall. An example of the Arts in Schools program is the Deep Exploration Within Elementary Art, which was a program from this past year at Dr. Williams Elementary. Students were able to explore multiple focus groups of particular interests, including painting, crochet, and fiber arts. The next tier is Tier 3, Tier 2, which starts at $3,500 and maxes out at $4,999. This category is geared towards mid-size initiatives, multi-day workshops, events, and small festivals. Examples from this past year are Fiddle and Jam Weekend, which was an immersive weekend of fiddle workshops, jams, and concerts for all ages. Another was Creativity on Wheels by Family Services of Champaign County, which was a meaningful art engagement activity for elderly adults to encourage community building, reduce feelings of isolation, and improve mental wellness and self-expression. So those are the examples and some information about the two different categories. So the program goals are the next thing I'm going to be covering. So do you have a grant idea that is aligned with the Urbana Arts Grants goals? When a proposal is reviewed, the following goals are taken into consideration. Does it integrate the arts into the urban environment, creating a sense of place and purpose and promoting tourism and commerce? Increase the availability of publicly accessible projects in the arts? Does it encourage emerging artists and art forms? Does it preserve and commemorate local and multicultural traditions and histories? Enrich the lives of Urbana residents and visitors? Increase opportunities for residents to engage in the arts in its many forms? Does it represent the community in its diversity? And does it encourage partnerships among artists, performers, businesses, and organizations? I think those are all the goals. Yep, those were all the program goals, and those are all listed on the City of Urbana's website. So you can see all of those in the guidelines and on that main page for the arts grants. So the next thing we're going to cover is eligibility. Just so that you can make sure that, okay, I want to get this funding. I need to make sure I'm spending it on things that are allowed or projects that are allowed. Projects must be exhibited or performed within the City of Urbana. So we state this because some people don't know that Champaign is different than Urbana. And so it's really important that the actual events or whatever's taking place is happening within the City of Urbana. Um, in addition to that, preference may be given to projects that take place within the TIF district. This is mostly going to be the downtown area. Projects must be open and accessible to the public. Projects that charge admission are required to ensure grant funding is spent primarily on portions of the project that are free and open to the public. Permanent installations are not eligible at this time. Consideration will be given to murals with a detailed property owner partnership tenant relationship, along with a plan and detailed timeline for installations, the maintenance, and deinstallation. Oh no, someone's saying there's folks in the waiting room. Hold on one second, you guys. All right. Okay. So I think everyone is in the meeting. So hopefully no one's in the waiting room still. Moving on. Applicants do not need to live in the City of Urbana. However, Urbana residency may be taken into consideration. Previous recipients of Urbana Arts Grants are eligible to apply for the 2025 cycle of Urbana Arts grants. Grant applications requesting funding for new projects or new additions to ongoing projects may be given priority. Grantees with outstanding arts grants will not be eligible to apply. So basically, this means that if you have an outstanding grant from past years, you will not be eligible. This does not include the current 2024 cycle, although that is something to consider, that if you know that you have a grant right now, that you are finishing that in time, when you're supposed to be finishing in that by June 30th of this year. So you can apply, but you do need to make sure that you're going to be wrapping up that grant from this current year. All right. Funding restrictions. Funds must not be used for the following: to purchase or for the purchase of non-consumable materials such as computers, software, cameras, power tools, instruments, for the completion of degree work, for any event conducted solely or primarily as a fundraiser, for inherently religious activities such as religious worship, instruction, or proselytizing. As a note, faith-based organizations are eligible to apply for the grants to support non-religious, cultural, and arts programming that they provide, and have proposals that outline the care taken to separate in time or location the inherently religious activities from any art or cultural programming funded through the Urbana Arts grants. Additionally, funding cannot be used for any project serving as a political endorsement, for any cash prize, gift, or giveaway items, for any honoraria or salary or service payments to City of Urbana staff or members of the Arts Commission, and also for any projects that serve as commercial advertising. Grant funds must be used to support project-based efforts. Requests for operating costs will not be considered. So these grants are meant for projects, not for just additional funding to organizations that need operating cost funding. I also just wanted to let you all know about some uh, upcoming workshops. We have one session that's going to be at the Urbana Free Library on March 9th, from 1:30 to 3:30 or 3 p.m. That's going to be downstairs in the auditorium, and it'll be a grant writing session, sort of co-working space. There will be some laptops and oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, you guys. Some of this information is not uh, updated on here. But you can ask questions and get answers in real time. There's also going to be a drop-in session at Cafe Paradiso. First come, first serve. We did this last year. Basically, this will give people an opportunity towards sort of the second half of March to get any last minute help, if you wanted to sit down and get some questions answered, have me look over some ideas that you have, or if you have a section that you're not sure about, things of that nature. I can sort of help out in the capacity that I can. So that's that. We have a lot of time for questions. I wanted to just give kind of a base overview. So I am going to see if I can, uh, I guess I wanted to see if I could unmute people. But if anyone has questions, that they would like to ask, now is the time. I know that I kind of breeze through this, but if you have any specific questions regarding sort of the new format of the 2 tiers versus the 3 tiers, you're more than welcome to ask those in there. Or you could raise your hand and I can unmute you as well. Okay, Jenna asks, can the funds be used to pay staff during the camp? Asking about Girls Rock specifically. Yes, staff time can be used. Um, I think it depends on so where that's happening. So is that happening in Urbana versus if it's happening somewhere else? I think that also just in terms of having a strong application, having we don't necessarily have a percentage like max of administrative fees and things of that nature, but I think that making sure that there's a balance in your budget of what's staff time that's being paid and also um, maybe what's contracted services from people. There is some language, I believe, with staff. Um, and if you're an employee, like an actual employee of a organization, and having like insurance coverage of those individuals. So I would just be sort of aware of what you plan on doing when um, working with other people who are going to be helping you. Um, Hopefully that answered that question. John asked, is there a tier 3 grant for larger festivals and is there a match requirement for it? There is no longer a tier 3 grant that's part of the arts grants. We're working on something that's meant for larger festivals so that there's not so much of a um, sort of competition for funds from smaller initiatives and larger ones. So that will be a different webinar down the road. Right. I don't know if anyone else has any questions. All right. Well, I hope that people were able to make it into the meeting. I know the recording of this will be available on the website, the urbanaillinois.gov website, and I will try to get that up as soon as I can. And I might also add these slides in there, even though it's basically just a condensed version of the guidelines that are also on the website. And I believe that it does auto transcript too. So folks can just read it versus listen to my voice post having a cold. So that would be good for folks too. All right. If anyone has any more questions and you want to ask it not on the chat, you can feel free to send me an email. I'll, even though you probably all have it, I'll just type it in here. Um, and I'll also actually put the link to our website. Okay. Thanks for your patience, everyone. I really appreciate it. I didn't want to push this back any further to wait for my voice to not be terrible. So I really appreciate you showing up for this. All right. So in the chat, I also just put in the link to the site, the page where we have all the information. If you actually, am I sharing the screen that you need to look at? Um, this is the screen. If you're still on the webinar with me, here's the site. And this has all of our information. I try to include some of the upcoming workshop events. And it has some history of the grants, and it goes into detail a little bit about the program goals. And there's also a tutorial for Neighborly. If you're unfamiliar with Neighborly, you can check out that video. I think it was made a few years ago, but it still has good information on just how to get on there. But also creating Neighborly accounts and navigating that site is going to be something that we cover in the workshop at the library. Um, there's definitely more information about, or just kind of like a repeat of what we went over of eligibility, funding restrictions. And at the very bottom of this page, you can also see last year's recipients and their projects, how much they got funded, and sort of like the types of proposals that you can see. Sometimes that's kind of inspiring. And then at the very end, the guidelines for this coming uh, cycle. All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I think we did a great job. It's only 6:21, so you guys can continue on with your evening. And again, just let me know if you have any extra questions. You can send them to my email. All right. Thanks, everyone.